So we had a huge episode of Star Citizen Live dropping just yesterday, just a little short of 3 hours. It's even longer than what CitizenCon Direct is going to be, but Benoît Beauséjour came here and talked about a lot of different topics about the technical side of Star Citizen. Now before we go deep into our recap here, this is our monthly giveaway thanks to Anvil Gruffers. This month I'm giving away to Patreon and YouTube members as well as people who subscribe to the channel and comment to any videos posted this month, an L21 Wolf. So yeah, shout out to Anvil Gruffers over there for providing us with this ship. There will be 10 entries on the Wheel of Names for subscribers of the channel and automatic entries for Patreon and YouTube members. Alright guys, so Benoît Beauséjour joined Jared on the latest episode of Star Citizen Live to reflect on the state of the game and its technical progress. Looking back just 1 year, highlights show how much has changed. At the time, Star Citizen was still running on single server DGS without a second star system, and server performance was of course struggling. Today, thanks to Alpha 4.0 and the introduction of static server meshing, average server performance sits comfortably above 20 frames per second, with test environments already reaching up to 800 players. This progress has been reinforced by the introduction of per-territory statistics, which allows development teams to distribute load more intelligently and optimize performance on a finer scale. Alongside these technological leaps, CIG has overhauled several internal processes to reduce regression bugs and improve quality assurance. The Hero Squad team now focuses specifically on technical critical issues such as the much-discussed freight elevators. Embedded Greenlight QA brings specialized testers directly into feature teams to catch problems earlier in development. Meanwhile, the Hygiene Initiative works to clean code here, clarify errors, and reduce bugs before changes are even submitted. These initiatives, combined with other improvements, have already made development workflows far more stable and reduced the number of issues introduced by fixes. A crucial tool in the brand new environment pipeline here is the Tech Preview environment, a separate testing ground designed to validate major new features in isolation without risking disruption to the live game. Currently, the environment is being used to test several highly anticipated upgrades, including improvements to AI, the Vulkan renderer, and a broad set of graphical enhancements. Mission tooling for the upcoming Mission 2.0 system is also under evaluation, as are group lighting systems and texture upgrades. Once these tests are complete and successfully integrated into the live build, the next goal will be to bring early versions of engineering gameplay to Tech Preview before the end of the year. One of the most important advancements discussed was static server meshing, which is already live of course, and generating valuable performance data. Developers are now able to measure the number of ships, AI, and resource per dedicated game server along with detailed performance and resource usage metrics. This information will feed directly into the next major milestone, dynamic server meshing. Benoît also provided updates on several core systems that have been reworked to improve reliability and player experience. Freight elevators, long a source of frustration, have undergone a significant overhaul. Small items such as medpens previously had the power to break elevators' functionality, while streaming older bugs sometimes caused by the elevator and its terminal to load separately, leading to failures. These issues have now been resolved, and the system has been enhanced with self-healing logics to automatically reconnect terminals, doors, and elevators if they fall out of sync. The freight elevators were also heavily tested during the recent Resource Drive event, with player participation helping to expose and eliminate persistent problems. The transit system, covering trams and elevators, has been another focus area. A dedicated hero squad is currently refactoring the system to prevent long-standing bugs such as missing carriages or stuck doors. Like the freight elevator, the transit system now includes self-healing mechanisms to detect and fix these issues automatically. Internal builds are already showing strong results, particularly with new Babbage trams. Eventually, this work will evolve into what the developers are calling the transport system, a much more resilient framework designed to deliver a smoother travel experience for all players, and I'm quite surprised they haven't called it Star Transport at this point. On the back end, the Density Manager, Cleanup System, and Physical Interaction checks ensure that the game world remains manageable and performant. These systems determine which objects remain in the world and which should be cleaned up. items judged to be low priority, such as piles of water bottles, will eventually be removed unless players interact with them, which refreshes their lifespan. The same cleanup rule applies for abandoned ships and vehicles left at outposts. Developers can adjust the aggressiveness of the cleanup per region, allowing more flexibility across the universe. Looking forward, this system could tie into gameplay features like salvage beacons, though CIG notes that such mechanisms will require proper player incentives and supporting systems such as crafting. The spawn manager, which controls mission-related spawns, has also been refined. Previously, the system was prone to overspawning because it did not check whether the required AI or props were already present. Improvements are now on the way to ensure that the server asks, "Do I already have 5 NPCs for the mission?" before spawning new entities, preventing unnecessary load and chaos. Which is a shame because I think it was really awesome to have bunkers with 30 NPCs. I don't know, let me know what you guys think of your experience right now in FPS combat in Star Citizen. Air traffic control is another system being planned for refinement. CIG is still in the early stages, gathering data to inform its redesign. The plan is to split responsibilities between ATCs, which will manage landing permissions and queuing, and a new hangar management system, which will handle everything that occurs once a player is inside their hangar. This should result in smoother, less frustrating interactions with station traffic. Finally, beacon technology has reached a stage where it could be made functional across servers and even across star systems. However, Benoît explained that implementing this feature will require dedicated development time and resources before it becomes a reality. So yeah, no beacons in Pyro while you are in Stanton. Another major topic of discussion was the long-term persistence system and how it interacts with player entitlements and in-game purchases. Items obtained through the web store are tied to entitlement records, while items acquired in-game are recorded in the long-term persistence. Each time a player logs in, their entitlement items are granted, and their LTP records are loaded to reflect their current inventory. The challenge comes from the sheer complexity of item states, especially ships, which are not always saved correctly. The key factor in ensuring items persist properly is whether or not they are stowed. If a ship is safely stowed in the player's home inventory, it will be saved in the LTP records and survive updates. However, if it is left unstowed on the landing pad or stored in an inventory that does not belong to the player, it risks being lost. To address this issue, CIG is developing a full LTP revamp that will ensure entitlements and inventory persist reliably across patches. Some items, such as ammunition, medpens, refinery jobs, and rentals, will remain exceptions to this persistence by design. One particularly famous issue in patch 4.3.0 is nicknamed the Wolf bug, and is also addressed during the discussion. The bug is caused by a last-minute problem with gravity handling. On the server side, the game believes that players exiting the ship are still attached in the EVA mode, while the client registered that the player has already exited and was free to walk around. This desynchronization caused by streaming to collapse, breaking the environment around affected players. The root cause turned out to be a zero-gravity condition inside ships, which prevented the transition loop from completing properly between when players are moved between EVA and walking states. Once identified, the bug was fixed to restore stability. Benoît also cleared up some common misconceptions about the game's back-end and development cadence. Daily maintenance is not performed on Star Citizen servers because maintenance involves a lot than just being simply rebooted. It is only carried out when server configuration changes are being deployed. Similarly, hotfixes often create new shards, which can then take time to propagate fully across the system, occasionally leading to delays in seeing their effects. On the technical side, he reiterated that instancing already plays a role in the persistent universe system, such as, for example, elevators and personal hangars, which rely on instancing to distribute player load more efficiently, and this approach will continue to expand as part of future server scaling and dynamic server meshing. Finally, the upcoming CitizenCon Direct was addressed. This year's event will be, as we know, shorter than usual, running for about 2 hours, and will focus entirely on Star Citizen. Squadron 42 will not be covered during their presentation, not a sign of neglect here, they say, but simply because the time has come to spotlight the persistent universe, they say. Benoît assured the community that when the moment is right, there will be no shortage of information about Squadron 42. Towards the end of the discussion, Jared's remark about Squadron 42 raised some questions in the community, prompting him to clarify on Spectrum shortly afterwards. During the Star Citizen Live episode here, Jared said that the team was doing their best to release Squadron 42 in 2026, but that was always possible here that they might not make it. On Spectrum, he expanded on that thought, explaining that what he meant was simply pragmatic caution, not pessimism about the project's progress. He reiterated that Cloud Imperium Games has already drawn a line in the sand with their public goal here, and that the entire team was focused on meeting that commitment. According to Jared, development is on track with no mystery or hidden agenda. The reason for the current quiet period is that the developers want to remain heads down focused on the work itself. He emphasized that as the release approaches, players can expect much more information and visibility on Squadron 42 in the future. What Jared wanted to make clear here was that he personally cannot guarantee the future, and that this is pretty much true all across the gaming industry, not just with CIG. Development is, of course, unpredictable by nature, and responsible communication means avoiding absolute promises. He also noted that his statement should not be mistaken for doubts about the game's status, and that he was just being cautious. Taken as a whole, this latest episode of Star Citizen Live underlined just how transformative 2025 has already been for the project. With static server meshing already in place, performance improving across the board, and new development pipelines reducing the risk of regressions, the persistent universe is more stable and playable than it has ever been. The tech preview environment, system refactors, and persistent improvements all point to a future where features can be tested, refined, and delivered with greater confidence. Of course, challenges remain. Bugs like the infamous wolf bug remind us how fragile a massively complex simulation can be, while persistence and items lost continue to require careful work. Of course, the strides made this year highlight a development team committed to not only building new features, but also ensuring what already exists functions reliably. Meanwhile, the decision to focus CitizenCon Direct entirely on Star Citizen speaks to a deliberate choice. Let the persistent universe shine on its own terms. Squadron 42 remains on track for its targeted 2026 release, they say, with Jared and the team balancing optimism with pragmatic honesty about the unpredictable nature of the game development. If 2024 was the year of server meshing, then 2025 is shaping up to be the year of playability, where long-standing frustrations give way to more frustrations, but yeah, of course, a smoother and more resilient game. Sure, stability is nice, of course, right? But nobody backed Star Citizen just to admire smoother menus or slightly fewer server crashes. Players want reasons to play the game. New ships, fresh missions, dynamic events, exploration, progression systems. Stability without features is just polishing the skeleton, and if CIG doesn't balance the technical work with meaningful content, then 2025 risks being one of the dullest years in Star Citizen's history though. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today's video. A pretty long recap, as you can see, for a pretty long Star Citizen Live. I hope you enjoyed this recap. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comment section down below. I will see you guys in the next one. As always, a big shout out to my Patreon members, Dr. Tarcisius, Dr. Forbid, Shadowrise, Doki2Doka, and Zero Crusher. I have been around, and I will see you guys in the next one.